I'm going to share with you today a tip that I kind of figured out when I was doing my samples for my binding class, and I got to the part where I needed to join the bindings at the end. When you go through the trouble of mitering your joins like this, and you get to the end, it seems a shame to just kind of stick it straight together for that big lump to be there, because all of that seam allowance is going to get wrapped around 4 times on top of each other. You went through all the work to join your binding strips together down here where they were nice and mitered. The seam allowance ends up getting distributed across that miter and not bulking up all in the same spot. So I had trouble always figuring out, do I twist it clockwise? And then I was told little poems about the preacher jumping in, or the preacher's wife jumping in the preacher's arms, and I could never remember exactly how it was to go together. So I just came up with this in my head. I am sure that somebody else uses this method. I've tried to find a video where it's explained this way, but I can't. So if somebody else out there uses this method too, great. I hope it helps you. So we're going to start with your binding sewn on, and you leave about 10 to 12 inches unsewn, and we will bring that together in the middle. And I'm just going to chop a little bit off so that I have a little bit of an opening there. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure that this piece that lays over top overlaps the same width as your binding strips. So here I'm using a 2.5 inch strip. That little piece I cut off, I don't even have to get my ruler. I can just use this piece. So I will measure from the end of the binding strip underneath to where I need it to go on the binding strip on the top. And I'm just going to cut right there. And I don't need that anymore. So you see, I've got this overlapping 2.5 inches. Now what I do is I take one of them and I open it up and I just fold over a triangle so that it's folded just like that. I hope my fingers are staying out of the way. So you're just folding over a triangle, and I'm going to just finger press that and then press it with the iron. And fold it back into place. I'm going to do that with the other side too. And I always fold it what I think is the opposite way. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. The beauty of this though is that you haven't cut anything, and you'll see that I did fold it the right way this time. So I'm going to give that a press. And I'm going to lay it down, and you're going to see that when that's nice and pressed, the miter comes together on top, and the miter also comes together on the bottom. So if I had pressed that the wrong way, we'll just pretend, you'll see the miter isn't coming together because I'm overlapping it here. So this miter here needs to match this miter. So I know I would have had it folded the wrong way. So we'll fold it back the right way, and we'll just give it a little press. And then I lay it back down like that and grab a couple of pins. So now all you have to do is open them back up, put them right sides together, and you're going to need to pull your quilt together. That's why you need a good 10 to 12 inches there. And you're going to match up these corners and also match up that pressing line on both sides. So you want to make sure that you put a couple of pins in to hold that in place. And I don't pin anything, but I pin this. And then you're going to make sure that these corners match up nice. And then you're going to sew right on that fold line where they're matched up on both sides. Okay, we've sewn on that fold line, just like that. If I can get it on the camera. We've sewn on the fold line, and you'll see we have some extra here. We're just going to close that up and make sure that it all fits nice first, and that works out perfect. We can open it back up again, trim off the excess, finger press that open, and then give it a little press to lay nice and flat. And then you just go back to the machine again and sew down with a 1/4 inch seam allowance like you did the rest of the binding. And you're almost done. I hope that helps you join your ends.